Have you ever wondered about the origin of these warriors who took part in the King's Gambit mission in Witcher 3 Wild Hunt and made quite a mess in the game? Welcome to the world of the Berserkers, where rage meets history and mythology intertwines with reality. In today's video, we dive into the crazy world of the Berserkers, the legendary Norse warriors featured in The Witcher 3 and known throughout history for their unstoppable rage on the battlefield. Whether you're a history buff, a gamer, or just love a good legend, these creatures will intrigue you. Berserkers were the elite shock troops of Viking-age Scandinavia. Their name, derived from the Old Norse Berserker, either means bare-shirted or bare-shirted, but one thing is clear: they were no ordinary warriors. These warriors were famous for their near-superhuman strength and their ability to enter a state of uncontrollable rage, known as the Berserker gang. In this state, they were said to fight with the ferocity of wild animals, feeling no pain and fearing no enemy. Berserkers were more than just muscle. They were deeply connected to the god Odin, the All-Father of Norse mythology. Odin was the god of war and wisdom, and Berserkers were believed to be his chosen warriors. So what exactly triggered the Berserker gang? Modern scholars have a few theories. Some suggest it was a form of hyperarousal or hysteria, a state of mind where the warrior detached from pain and fear. Others think it might have been something more physical, like epilepsy. As you all know, in the game, when Geralt is inspecting the hall, he notices that some kind of mushroom has been added to the mead. And when he and Ceres talk to Hjort tells them that it is the psilocybe mushroom. And indeed, such a mushroom with hallucinogenic properties exists in our world. However, some researchers say that it is related to the fungus Amanita muscaria, also known as fly agaric. This mushroom has psychoactive properties and has historically been used in shamanistic rituals. Could it be that Berserkers are tripping going into battle? It's speculative, but the idea of Viking warriors going into a mushroom-fueled rage is pretty crazy. There's also a spiritual aspect to consider. Some believe Berserkers engaged in rituals that helped them become the animals they represented. This transformation was symbolic, but it gave them the mental edge to fight with wild abandon. Berserkers weren't just loose cannons. They had a respected place in Norse society. They often served as the king's elite troops, leading the charge in battle. But their uncontrollable nature also made them a double-edged sword. In Norse sagas, Berserkers are depicted with a dual nature. They could be the ultimate heroes, protecting their people with unmatched ferocity. But they could also become villains, driven mad by their own rage, turning on their own allies. As Christianity spread across Scandinavia, the wild ways of the Berserkers didn't fit into the new order. They went from being revered warriors to being outcasts, their practices outlawed as relics of a pagan past. But their legend has not disappeared. From the pages of epics to the screens of video games like Witcher 3 or God of War, Berserkers live on. They have become symbols of primordial power, symbols of the warrior species that fights with every ounce of its being. The Berserkers of The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt offer a fascinating lens through which to examine the gap between historical legend and creative representation. Let's explore how this popular game depicts these fearsome warriors and compare it with the historical and mythological accounts. In the historical context, Berserkers were legendary Norse warriors linked to divine favor and possibly psychoactive substances. Their rage entwined with their connection to Odin and their symbolic transformation into wild animals. In The Witcher 3, Berserkers are portrayed as brutal, rage-filled enemies with a strikingly primal appearance. This depiction emphasizes their ferocity and ties to animalistic fury, but it simplifies their complex nature. The game focuses more on their raw compatibilities and less on their cultural and spiritual significance, diverging from their nuanced historical role. While the game captures the essence of Berserkers' wild nature, it overlooks their broader societal and spiritual roles. Historical accounts describe Berserkers as warriors with divine connections and ritualistic practices, a depth that the game's portrayal does not fully explore. The game depicts Berserkers with exaggerated strength and rage, emphasizing their primal compatibilities. Historical texts suggest a trance-like state potentially induced by psychoactive substances or psychological factors like hyperarousal. The game's portrayal amplifies the Berserkers' rage and strength for dramatic effect, creating a more visually striking but less nuanced version of their historical frenzy. This approach prioritizes entertainment over the complex interplay of mental and physical factors described in historical texts. Historically, Berserkers were elite warriors with significant societal roles, their rage seen as a divine gift within a larger cultural and religious framework. In contrast, The Witcher 3 primarily portrays them as formidable adversaries in combat, while emphasizes their role as enemies rather than exploring their rich cultural and spiritual background. This approach is effective for gameplay, but reduces the depth of their historical and mythological significance. Berserkers as fierce, rage-driven warriors, emphasizing their combat prowess and primal nature. While this portrayal captures some aspects of their legendary ferocity, it simplifies and exaggerates their historical and mythological roles. The game focuses on visual and functional elements rather than the deeper cultural, spiritual, and psychological aspects described in historical texts. So whether they were truly raging madmen or just incredibly skilled fighters, the Berserkers have carved their place in history and mythology. Their story reminds us of the fine line between civilization and chaos, control and fury. If you enjoyed this dive into the world of Berserkers, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And let us know in the comments, what's your favorite depiction of a Berserker in pop culture? Until next time, stay wild.